All right. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. So, end of the season. It ended on Sunday for the Denver Broncos. They were defeated by the Buffalo Bills by a final score of 31-7. The Broncos were the game was wild. Wasn't much expectation. Good evening, Tom. It wasn't much expectation to actually win, in my opinion. I picked the Bills to win 24-21. It didn't turn out that way. It was 31-7, but we'll get into it here shortly. But yeah, the season's over. The wild card rounds are complete, and we're on to the divisional round. So before we recap the Broncos game, we're going to go ahead and push back and discuss the games from the weekend, and we'll start with the Chargers and the Texans. That was the game that kicked everything off. I picked the Chargers to win that game. But the Texans intercepted Justin Herbert 4 times. And as they say, Chargers are going to charger. So as I present this real quick, you can see Saturday, Chargers 12, Texans 32. And this game was wild. So we'll go into this a little bit further detailed before we get really into it. As you can see from the headline, we're going to recap the divisional, the wild card weekend, talk about the divisional round. We're going to discuss a little bit about the Broncos potentially moving the stadium. That's going to be a discussion tonight. And then on top of that, we'll recap the Broncos-Bills game, but we'll get to that. But let's start with Texans defeat the Chargers 32-12. In this game, the Chargers, they jumped out early, and there was a key play about the second quarter where there was it was it was in the second quarter. The ball was hiked back to C.J. Stroud, the quarterback of the Texans. He fumbled it a little bit, picked it up, ran around, and it hit him. It was like it basically turned the game. And as you can see, the Texans went up to go about 20-6. Herbert was 14-32, 1 touchdown, 4 picks. Stroud 22-33, 282, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. I was really impressed with how the Texans rebounded in the game because they had come in off of, Christmas Day. They lost to the Ravens. They did beat the Titans the last week of the season, but I just didn't really have much faith in the Texans to actually show up. And the Chargers had come in hot, I think on a 4-game winning streak. So the momentum was all on the Chargers. But again, you play the games. And here you go, the Texans. And the last drive of the game, the Texans had like 15 rushes, and Joe Mixon just ran over the Chargers. The drive here was about in the fourth quarter. Let's see, 14 plays, 74 yards. Just C.J. Stroud, 7 yards. Mixon, 7 yards. You can see Mixon here, 7 more yards. 2 yards. Mixon for 6, Mixon for 2, Mixon for -2. And you could just see Mixon just crushed him in that fourth quarter with 7-minute drive. The 4 picks just came at a weird time. So as you could see here, the touchdown drive was 13 plays, 99 yards. The C.J. Stroud pass was, let's see, I don't know I can't remember which play it was exactly, but there you go. There it is, actually 3rd and 16 from the Houston 17. 6-0 Chargers at the time. Stroud fumbles it and then recovers it, and then pass right 34 yards to Jackson for a first down. So that's why I love playoff football. Just go out there. You just never know what's going to happen. This was probably, to me, the surprise of the weekend. Good on the Texans. They get the prize of going and playing the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll get into that a little bit later. The next game we're going to discuss, the Saturday night cap, Steelers and the Ravens. I had the Ravens winning this one. It wasn't even close. It was 21-0 at halftime. Derrick Henry had almost 200 yards rushing. Lamar Jackson, they just pretty much bullied Pittsburgh around the whole game. As you can see by the stats here, the Ravens had 16 rushing first downs, 10 of 15 on third down. I mean, that percentage will win you most games. Fourth down efficiency, 72. They didn't go for any fourth downs. 72 plays by the Ravens, the 45 by the Steelers. Again, that stat will be interesting because we'll talk about a game on Sunday that had a similar ridiculous stat line as far as total plays ran by both teams. Time of possession. Well, here you go. Here's another one for you. 299 yards on the ground from the Ravens, 29 yards rushing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, again, this is a franchise that's known for bruising running backs. And, Baltimore just pushed them around the whole game. 39 minutes of possession to the 20 that the Steelers had. Just a pure domination from the 14-point difference doesn't do it any justice. Derrick Henry, let's go look at the player stats here. The recap here. Jackson Henry, look at this. See 28-14. That's 232. So there you go. That was the most rushing yards allowed by Pittsburgh in a playoff game, breaking the mark of 232 set by the Oakland Raiders 51 years ago. Wow. And generally, teams that get in the playoffs are good teams. There's certain, look here, Russell Wilson, it's a pedestrian night, though, 20-29, 270, 2 touchdowns. It wasn't a good night for them. They really didn't do much in the first half. Lamar, 16-21, 175, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. He's going to make his case for the MVP. And Baltimore defeating Pittsburgh now sets up a really spicy matchup on Sunday between the Ravens and the Bills. But look at this, 26 for 186 from Derrick Henry, 15-81 from Lamar, 50 rushes for 299. You can't listen. This is the thing about playoff football too. If you can't stop the run, teams are going to run on you, and we saw that happen on Sunday. So we'll get into that here in a minute. But let's pivot. The Broncos were defeated by the Bills, 31-7. Let's get going here. 31-7. We'll get into that. I'll come back. I'll pivot back, but we'll just say 31-7. We'll come back to that. The 4:00 game, Packers and Eagles. Eagles defeat the Packers 22-10. This game was kind of outside of the Pittsburgh-Baltimore game. I thought this was the least interesting game of the weekend as far as what I saw on the Sunday and Saturday games. Obviously, Monday night's game was a little bit more of a lopsided result, but this one just for 4:00, maybe it was because the Broncos had lost, and mentally I was just kind of like, but this one was just not the most fun game of the day. The Packers, we'll go look at the team stats here, but Jordan Love had a couple picks in this game. Packers were 7-13 on third down, and this is a lopsided stat right here. Packers 7-13 on third down, 2 for 11. The Eagles were on third down, but you can see there was 3 picks thrown by Jordan Love. This wasn't a good day at the office. And in fact, we'll go take a look here at the box score real quick. As you can see, 20 of 33, 212 yards, 3 interceptions. Of course, Jalen Hurts, 13 of 21, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Barkley, 120 yards on the ground. Really good day from him. Josh Jacobs had a good day too. Had a really good run at the end there, a 31-yard run. He ended up at the 1-yard line. But the Green Bay Packers fall short. Jeremiah Trotter, the former Clemson Tiger here. But let's go look at this play-by-play here. Let's see these 3 interceptions that were by the Packers. This interception occurred in the Green Bay. Let's see here. Philly 22. There was an interception. That's a big turnover there. Flips the field. The next turnover by Green Bay happened. let's see here, the Philly 39. So, Green Bay getting into Philly's territory and turning the ball over. And then the last interception happened here at the Philly 40. So you can see the turnovers that Green Bay had on Sunday were on the Philly side of the field, are attempting to get to that side of the field. Does that impact the game? Absolutely. 3 turnovers will absolutely kill you anytime. The Eagles were 8-1 at home all year, so they were really good at home this season. So that was really never a. They never really struggled at home. So, it was going to be hard for Green Bay to go in there and actually win the game in general. But the Sunday night game was actually really good. I really enjoyed the Commanders and the Buccaneers. I'm not going to say it was the game of the weekend, but I would argue it was. The Commanders do a walk-off field goal for their first playoff win since 2006. And, of course, they were named the Redskins then. But there you go, 23-20. Weird series of events in there. The fourth quarter was kind of one of these moments where the Commanders went for a fourth down, were stopped, and then Baker Mayfield threw an interception that gave Washington a second chance to go back up in the game. Mike Evans had him for the Bucks. Just such a good game. I thought he had him and Marshawn Lattimore. Yes, I'll be planning on keeping it going. We're gonna have content all through even the off season, so I've got plans. We'll play it by ears and see what's up, but we're gonna keep going, absolutely pushing through, 100%. Mike Evans had a really good game. I enjoyed the battle watching him and Marshawn Lattimore go against each other. Great cornerback versus a great wide receiver. Baker had an interception. He had an interception, and he had a fumble. Excuse me, there was a fumble there. But I remember the fumble happened. But anyway, good game. I found this one to be the most entertaining one. And we go look at the play-by-play how it ended. Of course, Washington had a 10-play, 51-yard drive to field goal to win it. But the fumble happened right here. Baker Mayfield fumbled at his own 12. And there was a card from Washington, and it would just ended. And this is what's crazy about this sequence of events. Let's see here. Where is that? The fumble. This is 4th and goal. All right, so here we're going to paint the picture here. In the first, the opening drive of the fourth quarter, anyway, sorry, it's been a long day. Basically, the Commanders went for on 4th down, and they were stopped from the Tampa 3. I think through the end zone, tried to hit it to Zach Ertz. Poor play on it. Buccaneers get the ball back. Now, at the point of the game, it was 17-13. And again, analytics in this game is what's kind of ruined the game. They're like, okay, let's go for it on 4th down because the analytics tell us to. Again, I just think in playoff football, points matter. Points absolutely matter. And it still worked out for the Commanders. So as much as I'm criticizing them for going on 4th and goal, I still think you probably should have kicked the points there, made it 17-16. But regardless, the ball's to the Tampa 4. It was 1st down and 10. And then Baker fumbles the ball and gives the Commanders the ball back at the Tampa Bay 15. So, with that being said, they end up scoring a touchdown, hits Terry McLaurin. Commanders go up 20-17. Baker gets the ball back, does a nice eight-play, 61-yard drive, makes the game tied at 20. And then, of course, in what poise of the rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels to drive down the field and hit the game-winning field goal on the road to send the Commanders to Detroit. So our divisional round games for this weekend, again, we're going to come back to the Broncos game. The divisional games this weekend on Saturday. Well, we're going to go look for tickets now. Oops. Actually, that might be a fun thing to do. The cheapest ticket to get into Arrowhead for Houston and Kansas City on here looks like $91. Let's see what the highest price. We have a ticket for the lower level for $8,190. Nobody's paying that. Okay, so Saturday we've got Texans and Chiefs. Then we've got Washington and Detroit for Saturday night. So the number one seeds get to play on Saturday night, which makes the teams that were the lower come in a short. Basically, you're trying to give an advantage to them on a short week. So the number one seeds will play on Saturday. And then on Sunday, the remaining best seeds, which we have on Sunday, we're going to have Rams-Eagles as our 3 o'clock game. And then there's our 6:30 game, Ravens-Bills. It's going to be really good. That's probably the game of the weekend right there that I'm looking at. And I'm like, yeah, I got to watch that one. But we'll get into the preview earlier, but that's kind of a real quick. So let's go back and talk about this Broncos game. So the Broncos are defeated. Let's go back to the wild card. Broncos end up defeated 31-7. Disappointing. Not really surprised by getting defeated by Buffalo, but the game itself, and let's go to the team statistics here. Denver has 13 first downs. Buffalo ends up with 26. Buffalo was 8 of 15 on third down, while Denver was 2 of 9. The Broncos were easily in this season one of the worst 3-and-out teams in the NFL. And here's the stat that I want to bring up. 42 plays ran by Denver, 72 by Buffalo. Buffalo ended up holding the ball for about, I think it was 40-some minutes. Obviously, it says 41-43. Denver only had the ball for 18 minutes and 17 seconds. So you're looking at a team like Denver who struggled already picking up first downs. You give them 42 plays on the road. And we'll get to another number that I want to talk about that was deceiving. Bo Nix, 14 of 23, 145 in the air. Opening drive, Denver Broncos score a touchdown. But the rushing attempts, this number is very deceiving for Denver. 17 rushes for 4.6, 79 yards. Oh, that looks good. Okay, here's the other problem. 44 rushes from Buffalo, 210 yards, 4.8 a carry. Broncos couldn't stop them. And again, my argument as why that's a big deal is not really based on the fact of how good Buffalo was, which credit to them, but the fact that Denver can't pick up first downs. There's a problem on this team, and we're going to pivot to that here in a minute. We're going to talk about it more in the offseason, looking at a roster breakdown and who I think should stay, who should go, who's the free agents, who's moving, what they need to target in free agency, what they should target in the draft. But looking at Denver, they didn't have anybody like James Cook for the Bills. He was, I think he had like 100 some yards, 120, 23 for 120. The Broncos over here, Bo Nix, 4 rushes for 43. Bo's fine. Picking him out of this thing, not a big deal. Javonte Williams, 7 rushes for 29 yards. That's not good enough. What is that? Almost 4 yards a carry? But again, one of the long of 6. So some of these runs weren't good. And I'm sure we could pull next-gen stats to look at it. But here was the big controversial moment for me that Sean Payton put Tyler Beatty in. Or Bidet, as he likes to be called. Bidet was off the practice squad, moved on to the team for the Buccaneers game, had a really good game against the Bucs. Had almost not 100 yards, but he was close. He was close. If we go back and look at that game, I have to go look. I think he had like 60-some yards against the there we go, 9 for 70, 7.8. And again, the play calling ability, like there's this running back by committee is Denver's MO right now. They don't have a Balkel running back. Like Buffalo had James Cook, 23 carries for 120. That's a bell cow that you're giving the majority of your work to and saying, go run me the ball, young man. Broncos don't have that. This guy had 11 rushes for the year for 86 yards in the regular season for 7.8. And he hadn't played. So he was on IR from September. And what does Sean Payton do? Plays him in the playoff game against Buffalo. Now, two carries for 8 yards. One of them was for 7. One of them was for 1. My thing is here, guy hadn't played, and then you put Estime. You put him on the practice. You basically deactivate him, which Estime was probably. Let me look him up here real quick. But Estime played well against the 49ers. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs. He had a good running in that game. So 76 for 310. No, now he did struggle with some fumbles this season. But, 12 for 34 against the Chiefs game, 9 for 24 against Cincinnati. So you can argue that, okay, look, he's coming in, he's less than three yards a carry. That's not good enough, 100%. But I'm looking at that, and I'm like, okay. But 9 for 48 against the Chargers, 3 for 12 against the Chiefs, 3 for 15 against the Raiders. His best game was 14 for 53 against the Chiefs, and that was the game that the Broncos had the blocked field goal at the end. So my point is, a game that I think you should have played towards, hey, Buffalo, we're going to run the ball down your throat. We're going to hold on to this for a long time. This didn't happen. So credit to Buffalo again. It was going to be a tough task for them to go win that game anyway. But if you look at the Broncos running backs this year, and this is something we'll get into a little further, there isn't a number one running back on this team. There's a whole lot of guys that do one thing but can't do the other. I mean, if you look at him, he's got 5 receptions on the year for 27 yards. I mean, this isn't bad for a rookie, a 5th-round rookie, to get 76 for 310 for 4.1. It's not horrific. It wasn't a horrible season for Estime. I just think he should have been utilized more. And I think Sunday, play him over Tyler Bidet. And then it doesn't make a difference to the grand scheme of the game. I 100% don't think it does. But for me, if you have a rookie quarterback and you're going to go on the road, you get 13 rushing attempts to about 23 passing attempts. Now, granted, 42 plays total. The first drive for the Broncos was excellent. Troy Franklin gets the touchdown. The Broncos are up 7-0, and you're sitting here thinking, okay, that's good. That's a good start. And then you hold them to 3, and it's 7-3. So you're like, okay, all right. Got through that. There was a goal line stance. The Broncos held the Chiefs to 1 of 5 in the red zone. So the argument's going to be the Broncos defense didn't show up and it was a bad game to an extent. But the reality is Denver couldn't sustain enough drives. And I'll go look at the actual drive, the play-by-play drive sheet on here. But you could see 5 for 70 on the first one. That was Javonte, first run is 5. Jaleel, who had a bad day, 2 rushes for -2 carries, misses 3 yards. So that now puts it at a 3rd and 8. Bo Nix hits Cortland Sutton, and then Javonte runs up for another 6, and then play action pass, boom, Troy Franklin in the end zone, touchdown, 7-0 Broncos. And you're like, okay, you're feeling alive. And then here's where I knew it was bad. This next drive, 3 plays, 5 yards, 1 pass to Trotman, his only catch of the day. Javonte Williams for 3, and then, of course, the 3rd down, Bo Nix gets a sack. So you punt the ball. And then Buffalo, 13 plays, 81 yards, a touchdown. Now you're down 10-7. Next drive, pick up a little bit more. Actually, at 9 plays, 31. This was the Riley Dixon. If you haven't seen Riley Dixon's fake punt, for a punter, I mean, he gets the ball, he disguises it like he's going to punt, and then he chucks it and hits Mims for a 1st down. Broncos get nothing out of it. And that's where I'm like, when you run fakes like that, you're telling the opponent, we're probably not good enough to beat you, but we're going to give it a shot. So the gimmick play didn't work out. They got the 1st down, but they got nothing out of it. So it's cool play. It'll go down in Broncos history as one of the cool playoff moments, in my opinion, where you're like, oh, that's cool. But Riley Dixon, his time in Denver, you're like, man, the guy that made the 1st down in the game against Buffalo. Now, granted, it doesn't mean anything, but it's kind of a cool moment. And if you get a chance to look at it, I may post it on Twitter on the Twitter account so we can show you it. But and then here's another one. This was another drive killer. Buffalo, 11 plays, 39 yards, 6.5 minutes. They went almost 7 minutes to go 40 yards. They just bleeded the defense, or bled the defense, shall we say. But it ended up in a punt. And this is where, minute 52 left in the second quarter. Bo Nix, second best drive of the day, 8 plays, 60 yards. They go to kick a field goal. And I swear to you, I'm sitting downstairs like, he's going to miss this. He's going to miss this. And sure enough, he hit the post. So likely, I apologize to Will Lutz. I spoke it into existence. So that's on me. But so then it's 10-7 at halftime, and you're like, man, 10-10 would be nice. But again, if your team like Denver comes in this, I think 8-point dogs, you have to get every point available to you. And they didn't there. But you can see in the second half, 8 plays, 55 yards, field goal, 13-7. Broncos returning drive, as was the most of the year, 3-and-out city, 3 plays, 5 yards, punt the ball, and then Buffalo gets a touchdown, 21-7. Then the Broncos again, 3 plays, -1 yards, you have to punt. And then the Bills score a touchdown to go up 28-7. Turnover on downs is the next Broncos possession. Field goal. And again, like you can see, I don't in the first and like they didn't pick up a first down in the second half. The Broncos didn't. And I sit here and I think about like how should I react to that? Because you're not going to win a playoff football game doing that. You barely win regular season games doing that. But again, as much as I'm criticizing Denver, this credit goes to Buffalo Bills. They're a good football team. Josh Allen, that's going to set up for a spicy divisional round game, Buffalo and Baltimore. And again, it leads into this question. Who do you feel will get the regular season MVP? It's either Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. And I don't know. I personally believe it's hard to really say on that one, because you could argue about the body of work and what we can do here. Let's do this to be fair here. We can pull up Lamar's. So anyway, we'll pull up Josh Allen, 3,800 yards on the day, 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. 63% completion, rushing the ball. Let's see here. Because they both are really good runners. Let's see, he's 17 for 102. I feel Lamar's going to win it. And I'll tell you why. Lamar, I think, just broke the record for rushing for a rookie. Not for a rookie, but all time for quarterbacks. A 41 touchdowns for it's Lamar. As good as Josh has been, it's Lamar. But I also wonder, because you look at some of these games here, like where was Lamar's big moment? They lost at Philly this year, or they lost to Philly. They lost to Pittsburgh. They won against Cincinnati. I'm wondering, like, where was the big moment where you could sit there? I mean, they went head to head, and Lamar and the Ravens beat them. So I'm going Lamar Jackson, Tom. I got you. I figured you were still listening, but I had to transition into everything. But yeah, I'm going Lamar Jackson as my NFL MVP. Rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year is probably going to be Jaden Daniels. Defensive rookie of the year, Cooper DeJean, I think from I'm going to say that he's probably defensive rookie of the year from the Philadelphia Eagles. But yeah, that again, disappointing day for the Broncos. I have to look at it, and obviously I'm going to do a recap show discussing directly how I feel about the Broncos season. But overall, I had a lot of fun this year. Of course, there's no prize for losing in the divisional round. The Broncos have locked into the 20th pick of the NFL draft, which I'm interested to see how that's going to work. So we're going to watch along for the draft. So I'm excited for that. But I'm excited also because I love draft seasons. This is the time of year where you psychoanalyze what you need. What's the cap space going to look like? We'll get into all that stuff, outlooking what the upcoming cap space for these teams is going to be as well. But let's get into the divisional round. So Saturday, ESPN, ABC, 4:30 p.m., 9:30 UK, 2:30 Central Standard Time. Texans and the Chiefs. Just look at a preview here real quick. Let's see here. Yeah. Actually, we're gonna go here for this one. Let's go to NFL Next Gen Stats so I can get. They just have it's a better preview on NFL Next Gen Stats. So, let's see here. All right. So, Texans and the Chiefs. All right. So right now, based on the predicted scores, they're saying Chiefs would win 25-17. The Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites. Not sure exactly what the weather's going to look like for Saturday. We can look that up here real quick, but I'm sure. Here we go. 25 degrees game time. Over unders 41.5. Interesting. So for me, I my heart wants the Texans to win. Like I just do. I hate the Chiefs with a passion. Can't stand them. They're just the worst franchise on the face of the earth. They've got a Hallmark movie made after them, which is horrific. Don't watch it. There's Taylor Swift's going to be in the stands. So I think the over under. So that's the real question here. What's the Vegas total on how many times you see Taylor Swift on Saturday? That's what I want to know. As you can see coming into this, Chiefs have the 16th ranked offense. Both teams are really good on defense. I'm telling you, man, I'm taking the Texans, okay? And this is strictly a hard pick. So the Texans are going to beat the Chiefs. And I say this because I think this is C.J. Stroud. There was something I saw in C.J. Stroud last weekend and Joe Mixon that I think they can replicate. And I think the Chiefs have legitimately struggled this year and kind of sleptwalked through a lot of games. With that being said, I'm taking the Houston Texans. Texans are going to win. 24, Chiefs 17. Stingley, I'm doing Derek Stingley to have an interception on it is a Christmas Hallmark movie. Say hello to my wife, Holly. Basically, I'm going Texans 24, Chiefs 17. It's a strictly don't like the Chiefs pick. There's absolute bias in this pick. All right. We don't want to do that one. Saturday night game, Commanders and the Lions. The Commanders have actually beat the Lions 3 times in the playoffs. So 81%. I'm going Detroit Lions to win this game. Lions have one of the top scoring offenses in the league. Defensively, they have some holes. So I think Jaden Daniels is going to have some success on Sunday or Saturday night. But the Lions are a high-powered offense. So this becomes a shootout. I think this game's going to be in the 30s. And I think this game's going to be probably the undersung game of the weekend. Like, everybody's going to be talking about the Bills and the Ravens and how good that's going to be. Lamar versus Allen, like, that's going to be big. But I think this one's going to be a shootout. I've got the Lions winning this game. Oh, there's the mouse. Lions, 35. Commanders, 31. Yep. Jared Goff continues to win. I don't think it's Jaden Daniels' time, but I see the Lions winning this game. And the last time they met 2 years ago, the Lions defeated the Commanders. Different team, obviously. There. Let's go look at some stats here coming into this. Jaden Daniels had a really good rookie year. Obviously, he's probably going to be a rookie of the year. I voted for Bo Nix at least 8 times on NFL Network or NFL.com. Once we're done here today, I will probably go vote 8 more times for Bo Nix. Sorry, Jaden. Jaden Daniels going to win it. But look at Jaden Daniels, his first year in the league. 148 rushes for 891 yards. He's a dynamic player. He's going to cause a lot of issues for the Lions. That's why I think this game is a sleeper game. Both teams don't turn the ball over. 12 picks by Jared Goff. And granted, the caveat is Jared Goff had one game where he threw 5 picks. Third down efficiency, 45% for the Redskins. I mean, going back there, the Commanders, and then 47% for the Lions. Both teams are pretty average on the time of possession, reach about 27 to 29 minutes a game. But Detroit scores so quickly. They're dynamic. You've got David Montgomery. You've got Jahmyr Gibbs. They've got Amon St. Brown. There's talent all over the place. My boy Tim Patrick's there. Russ, I'd love to have you back. So, yeah, Saturday night, this is a really good game. The NFL is happy to probably have this one. This is on Fox, 8 o'clock Eastern, 1 a.m. UK, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Sunday, Rams and Eagles, or as my fellow Arsenal fans would say, Stan Kroenke's team. Anyway, I've got the Rams winning this one. The Eagles are, let's see here. I didn't tell you the weather for the Lions game because it's in a dome. No reason to talk about that. So I think this is the money line here. Oh, I don't want to bet. Nobody wants to gamble. Oh, we're going to see some odds real quick. So the Commanders are 8.5-point dogs. The Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites. Eagles are 6-point favorites. And then the Buffalo Bills, that's a 1.5-point favorite for the Ravens. So let's see here. The over-under for this game is 43.5. I got the Rams winning this. The Rams are super hot right now. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I don't think it hits the over. I think I'm looking at something like Rams 20, Eagles 14. I just think if you go look at the Rams and how they've played coming in here, and let's go look at the Rams' schedule coming in here. They're super hot. They were at 1.6-7. They've won, I think, 4 in a row. Let me find that their actual. I'll go over here and do it on ESPN. We go to the Ravens. I don't want tickets. I'm not going to Philly to watch this game. But yeah, that's my pick. Rams 20, Eagles 14. Let's go over here. This is the Rams right here. The Rams, and I believe it was a Sunday night game. Let's see here. They lost the last game of the season, but look here. The Saints 21-14. They beat the Bills 44-42. They beat the 49ers 12-6. They beat the Jets 19-9. They beat the Cardinals 13-9. So that's some good defense right there. They've lost to the Eagles earlier in the season 37-20. I just think they're very hot right now. So they defeated the Minnesota Vikings. I even forgot to go over the Vikings game. They defeated the Minnesota Vikings. Oh, my God. We completely forgot to go over that. Well, they beat them 27-9. Sam Darnold came back to earth. I forgot to even completely go over this. Anyway, we'll talk about it real quick. Rams pretty much blew out the Vikings. Sam Darnold went down to earth. He lost his last 2 games. And I wonder how much money Sam Darnold has lost based on the last 2 performances versus the Lions and the Rams. It's a quarterback-hungry league. Somebody's going to pay him. I still think there's a chance the Vikings make him return, and they'll pay him. 25-40, just a bad day at the office from them. At the worst potential moment, because they were very explosive this year, very good. Rams just looked dominant in this game. This game was pretty much over at halftime. You can see here there was 9 sacks from the Vikings. It didn't matter, though. And let's go look here at the box score. Actually, no, Sam Darnold was sacked 9 times. I'm reading that wrong. Sam Darnold was sacked 9 times on Monday night. So that's not going to win you many games at all. And we can see here who got the sacks for the Los Angeles defense here. Let's see. Man, there's a lot. That's 9 sacks. But yeah, that's on the offensive line too. It's kind of on him. Aaron Jones, 13 of 48, not a very good day at the office. Cam Akers, 5 for 39 versus former team. It just Vikings didn't show up, but this is also credit to the Rams. This is why I'm taking the Rams to defeat the Eagles on Sunday. But we move on. So, last game of Sunday, the last game of the weekend, the potential matchup between it could be the game that decides in voters' minds who wins the MVP, the Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. From Orchard Park, Sunday, 6:30 p.m., 11:30 UK, 4:30 Eastern Standard Time, 4:30 Central Standard Time. Let's see here. So basically, this is looking at the percentages here. You can see 51% of people think that the win probability is 51% to 49% to the Bills. As you can see here, the Ravens have the number 1 scoring offense, 10th on defense. I'm going to say that the Super Bowl is going between these two for the AFC. It's either the Ravens or the Bills. That's my gut feeling. Now, again, that's also defeating if the Texans beat the Chiefs. But if the Chiefs make it there, I don't know. I got biases on it. But anyway, but yeah, good year. It's going to be probably the game of the weekend, obviously. Lamar and Jared, God, really tired. It's been a long day. Allen going at each other. But yeah, so there's that. That's going to be our wild card weekend. And I'm super tired. It's been a long day, but I'm going to pivot to one more story. I'm so tired. I forgot what his first name is. God, I'm thinking Jared Allen, but it's not. Josh Allen. There we go. Golly. So anyway, the story I wanted to bring up here is this is about the Denver Broncos. And they're talking about, this is a Bronco story pivoting to more a stadium move. So when we were in Denver for the game this year, we went and did a stadium tour, and there was a discussion about, hey, we're going to move the stadium potentially, where the stadium is in downtown. And I'm going to pull up a map for those of you who aren't familiar with the area. But there's a picture of the Bronco Stadium. I think Mike Kliss broke this. But Broncos, I'm going to read the article, so let's just do that. It's been months since the Denver Broncos broke ground on their training facility, and discussions are underway for a potential new stadium. Broncos co-owner and Greg Penner, who chairs Walmart, spoke to the Broncos during the end-of-season press conference, and he was questioned about the possibility of a new stadium or a renovation of Empower Field at Mile High, which opened in 2001 to replace the old Mile High Stadium. He says, we haven't ruled anything out at this point, including a potential move to the south, Interstate 25, to the city of Lone Tree. So here's the crazy thing about this. Let's read this. With the stadium, I'm sure you've all heard the rumors recently. We're continuing to do our due diligence. It is a complex question and decision on what we decide to do. We haven't ruled anything out at this point. We're still looking at options on the current site and around Denver. We've visited places like Lone Tree. We still have more steps to take there. And we'll pull up the map here in a second, but the end of Empower Mile Field's high lease is set to expire in 2030. So we're looking at something that this is just talk at this point. Because the rumor when we did the stadium tour was that they wanted to move the stadium by the airport, which again, once I pull up the map, you're going to say, oh, that makes sense. But here you go. The new training facility, they broke ground. So let's go look at the map here. Lone Tree, Colorado. All right. So here's the map. Here's the current map of Denver, so you guys can see. Obviously, those of you who don't live in the States, you can see where Colorado is, obviously. But if you look here, this is where the airport of Denver is at, right? And this is where the rumors were like, hey, they could put the stadium here. As you can see, there's a lot of open ground over here. You could put a stadium, like you could actually buy something over here. I mean, obviously not the wildlife refuge, but there's spots that you could create a complex for eating, just game stuff, hotels, easy travel to and from. Like there was potential there. So that's where the airport is. Oop. All right, well, we're not going there. Here's where Empower Field is right now. All right, Empower Field at Mile High is right here. And if you pull it over from perspective, Ball Arena is about where are you? Right, Ball Arena. Just had you on my sights. There it is. Ball Arena is right there. Let's do this. This is a better view. So you can see there's Empower Field at Mile High. This is where the old Mile High was. This is where the basketball and the hockey team play. So you've got Empower Field right here. So here's where the headquarters of the Broncos currently are. Dove Valley, which is down here. Where's Dove Valley at? Dove Valley. There's the airport. Dove Valley, come on. I think it's right around here. I have it posted out. Let's see. There. Oh, come on. Right here. Excuse me. I'm sorry. So here you go. Here's the I'm not sure exact location for the new site is off the top of my head, but this is where the Broncos headquarters are. As you can see here, where the training field grounds, the training center. I'm assuming this is where they're building it at. But Lone Tree, where the stadium would potentially be, is down here in this part of a little bit more golf club, a little bit more spread out. So you can see how far Lone Tree is from the actual stadium currently. We're looking at about, if you figure this all out, it says that the 4 places I've put is about 71 minutes of actual travel. So I think the thing about Lone Tree, from what I've read, is really more about the space that they would have, vice where the current stadium is. You don't really have a lot of stuff. But the thing about that, I mean, a lot of the food, to me, like when we stayed there, is in this area right here, and it's a lot of unknown. So obviously, like, it's in the middle of the city. So the thing about it, and let's go. I want to show you one more Coors Field where it is in connection. A, B, C, E. Where's Coors Field at? I thought it popped up for me. Let me get one more second here. Sorry for the delay here, but Coors Field, where are you? There it is, right here. So you can see Coors Field for the Rockies is right here. And then, of course, Empower Field here. Ball Arena is right here. So there's just the whole infrastructure of Denver and the downtown. There's an argument that people have, because here's the reality. If this new stadium does get built by the Penner Group, they're not going to need state funding. They're not going to need city funding. They're the Walmart Corporation. They'll just stroke a check and figure it out. The thing is, right now, you could do concerts and stuff like that at Ball Arena. But if you have a dome stadium, because that's what most of these stadiums being built today are dome stadiums, and they're going to end up being retractable field that could come in and out. You can have concerts in the weather in January. You could have Taylor Swift in January at your new stadium. Like, just the endless amount of money makers that could be made from having a stadium with a dome is wild in itself. So here's the other thing that a lot of people don't know about Empower Field. and I'm zooming in so you can see it. These seats right here, the orange ones, were specifically put in by the Bolin family in case that they got themselves an international soccer game. So Pat Bolin was a big soccer fan. So that's why those seats are orange, because they can be removed to have a regulation side for international football. But you can see, like, it's, this is the spot of Old Mile High. I don't know what the feeling is with people. Like, for me, I'm on the fence because I love the stadium. Going to it was fun. It was in a beautiful spot of town. Everything was in walking distance. I didn't feel unsafe at all walking in downtown Denver. I know some people feel things in Denver now are a little sketchy at times, but I enjoyed being at that stadium. The Colorado Sports Hall of Fame is there, which has all sorts of cool stuff in it. There's probably a YouTube video you can watch of someone doing a big walkthrough or whatever showing it. But it's a unique stadium. I enjoy it. It's older. It's 25 years old. It doesn't have the same modern amenities that, you say, the Rams Stadium would have, or even something like the Cardinal Stadium, which I think is about 10 years old. But these NFL stadiums, you got to think about a dome stadium versus a non-dome stadium. And that's what I hate about it, because you're kind of killing a little bit of the home field advantage with the weather and the altitude. But here's the other thing. Lone Tree is actually altitude higher than Denver is, where this one is at. So there is that aspect of it. But I wanted to bring this up because it kind of was brought up at the end of season press conference by the Penner Group, because it was a question that was asked. But we're gonna do yes. So yes, Tom, that was exactly. Pat Bolin was a big international soccer fan and wanted to get a World Cup game there. So that's why the stadium was built with those orange seats, so they could be removed to be regulation size to have a match in there. So, and the thing about that stadium is 6 different counties are involved in the ownership of it. And I could be wrong. It could be 5. If you're not one of the regulars are watching and you know the correct answer to that, please call me out on it. But there was, the Bolins put X amount of money up on it. And then, of course, the counties put certain monies on it. So once that lease is up, and that's the thing, once the Broncos came into town, or the Penner Group came into town, the actual city, there was a bunch of improvements that were done. And there's famously the actual stadium fire that happened in Vesco, in Power Field. So they did $100 million in upgrades to the scoreboard and everything to make it big and bigger than it was. And that was kind of like it was directed towards it anyway. It was a big capital improvement. So I think from the city's perspective, they probably don't want the field to go to Lone Tree. And again, when I talk about this, you got to think the Nuggets play at Ball Arena. That's 30 some games a year, and then the Avs play at Ball Arena. That's 30. So there's 82 games this season, 41 apiece, not including preseason. Both teams are really good playoff run. So you're talking about hotels and stuff like that. The NFL is 8 games a year, 76,000 something in the stadium. But so there's money to be lost from the city's perspective. But if you want to look, I'm telling you right now, if Denver gets a new stadium, they're hosting a Super Bowl. You will be. But it's so basically the Metropolitan Football Stadium District approved $12 million funding and project, and they increased the scoreboard, upgraded some of the seats. So basically they were trying to improve the fan experience. But the problem also that you have when you come to these new stadiums, you have the PSLs, which is the seat licensing, which is kind of almost like a show up fee. I knew a guy who was a Rams season ticket holder, and I think he said his PSL was $30,000 to even just be an owner of that seat and then to get the season ticket. And I'm not sure if that's yearly. But again, these newer stadiums almost kind of just push out the common person. And Tom can agree with it. I mean, he's, obviously a Leeds United fan, and they're owned by the 49ers, but even football in Europe is kind of getting away from the common fan. And, the NFL is so driven by what's the word I'm looking for? They're driven by commercialism and TV revenue that they kind of want the big. They want the big glitzy fans. Stan Kroenke moved from the St. Louis to L.A. To take the Rams there, and then the Chargers came in or whatever. But if you go look at the Edward Jones Dome and versus what the Kroenke Field is now, or can't remember the name of the stadium, it's just night and day. The fan experience, the Edward Jones Dome, was just a dump. And there's a good YouTube video talking about why that stadium failed. I don't know who the actual content creator that did it, but he did a really good job at just explaining how Stan Kroenke was able to move the St. Louis Rams out of you see, there it is right there, out of St. Louis and moving to the Rams. I think it had something to do with the fact that there was a commitment about, they had to stay in St. Louis. The stadium itself had to stay within the top percentage of stadiums in the NFL, and it just wasn't going to happen. It's very sad, the St. Louis Rams. But if you look at the history of football in St. Louis, and of course, maybe we can even do a show talking about the St. Louis Cardinals and the St. Louis Rams and just how things have how St. Louis has been a transient city for the NFL. We could probably do that one of these days. But again, the modern stadium, look at the Cowboys stadium. Look at Texas Stadium versus what AT&T Stadium is now. They're hosting the Cotton Bowl, right? The amount of things. And even look, if the Broncos get a new stadium, you could be hosting a playoff game for the college football playoff. There's just so much opportunities for the Penner Group where I'm kind of as a fan, I love where the stadium is. I love the downtown home field advantage. It was a great experience. The stadium is special. And I know if there's any Broncos fans that are on here, they'll agree with me on this. The stadium is built in a way that it has this concrete or the steel 9-inch foam where you stomp on it and your feet make this rumble noise and it creates this stampede effect. It's just one of the great – obviously, there's stadiums that are louder like Seattle's and stuff like that, but it's special. But again, if you're an owner, this is an investment, right? Leeds and 49ers are only just deciding to let Leeds fan know where they are. And again, I brought this up, I think, in your Leeds show on Sunday. What's the chance that Ellen Road gets a sponsor name next to it with Red Bull involved in it? Something like that could happen with a little rebranding. There's money to be made in naming rights to stadiums, and the NFL, I think, is one of the first one to really. Anyway, the NFL is one of the first to really kind of, I think, capitalize on that. This was the Edward Jones Dome. That's a financial company, right? So, you could do Denver. Denver could do, I'm sure they do WWE at Ball Arena, but you could do a WrestleMania in Denver if you had the football. And again, if you're the Penners, it's a no-brainer. And I think those that are sitting there saying, man, I really don't want to see the stadium move somewhere else, you might not have a choice. But needless to say, I just wanted to discuss that because it populated up, and I thought it was an interesting because I've heard the talk about this before. This is so. Needless to say, let's go through some comments here, and then we'll pivot to one more show. Tom joined us. Holly, of course, my missus. Thank you for your support. You can see where we've talked about whether the Texans potentially have a legit chance to make it to the Super Bowl. I'm picking them to beat the Chiefs. I'll probably be wrong, but whatever. Wouldn't be the first time. But yeah, so one other story we want to talk about before we head out. Vance Joseph, Denver Broncos defensive coordinator, actually got a interview with got an interview with the New York Jets. Here we go. Here's the article. This is Fox 31. Denver Broncos defensive coordinator Vance Joseph interviewed for a New York Jets head coaching job. I'll say this. I know there was a clip at the end of the game, towards the end, where Sean Payton's railing into Vance Joseph. I have to give Vance Joseph 110% credit for what happened to the team this year. I know the last 4 games of the season were not good as far as defense goes, but they set a franchise record in sacks with $85 million dead cap space. And the credit this is the thing. Like, if they're looking for scapegoats for Sunday's performance against Buffalo, I think that's the wrong play. I think it's the complete wrong play. Buffalo is a well-established team with a well-established quarterback. You had a rookie quarterback going into that environment. It was not going to be easy. None of these playoff games were going to be easy for the Broncos. And if we're honest with ourselves as Broncos fans, you weren't beating the Ravens. You weren't beating the Bills. And I think you could beat the Chiefs. But it was going to be difficult going into Arrowhead winning. I think you could have beat the Steelers. You probably could have beat the Texans. You lost to the Chargers twice, so you probably lose there. But, again, it was the worst-case scenario. So this, again, like from a seeding perspective, how the last 3 games of the season went really impacted who the Broncos played. So, you obviously lost to the Bengals, and then you lost to the Chargers, both technically from a winning position, because the Broncos were driving in the last part of the game against the Bengals. The Broncos were up 24-13 over the Chargers. But I got to give Vance Joseph credit because it was a no-name defense. If you would have gone and asked the average NFL person who's a fan to name 2 Broncos on defense, 2 Bronco defenders, they would have named Pat Surtain, and that would have been it. They couldn't have told you who Riley Moss is. They had no idea it was probably a white cornerback, which is very rare in the league. They didn't know that. Like Justin Cernard, a special teamers who ended up being a linebacker. Look at the defensive line. John Franklin Myers picked up in the draft this year with a trade. DJ Jones is probably going to end up being a free agent, and probably the Broncos aren't going to re-sign him. You had Malcolm Roach. That was a defensive tackle that was here. Zach Allen, Alex Singleton went down with an ACL this year. Who stepped in? Cernard stepped in. PJ Locke. Some of these names, granted, some of these names are probably not going to be on this team next year. But Vance Joseph was given a lot of guys that I 100% credit for. A guy that we talked about last year with Vance Joseph, 70-30, he was beat by the Dolphins, and the Broncos were, and it was a drubbing of all drubbings, 70-point defeat. I thought he was gone after that game, but they stayed the road. So the reason I think he might get replaced is because Sean Payton's old defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen's available. And I don't know where Vance Joseph gets another job. I don't think the Penner Group probably want to fire him. But I imagine if Sean Payton says, hey, I want Dennis, they'll probably mutually agree to part ways. But we'll see what happens. I thought it was unfair. Because I looked at Sunday's game, and my biggest complaint is we can't move the ball. It wasn't that Vance Joseph, we couldn't stop anybody, because my whole argument here is if you can move the ball, I showed you the second half. I think I had 10 plays in the second half. Not winning a game if you got 10 plays and no first downs in the second half. So I'm looking at Vance Joseph in the defense, and I'm like, it's not really your fault. Are there some things they could have played better in that game? Sure, but it's a mutual. It's a yin yang. 40-plus minutes of possession, and the NFL is a killer. Leeds' current ownership have said they won't let Red Bull change the name. In my opinion, we should let Red Bull do it and call it Ellen Road, but the money would help. Again, I know in Europe there's a little bit more traditionalism, and I think we're traditional here in America too. Some things are. You're like, hey, I don't know, the Red Bull Field at Ellen Road. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying you should do it. And hear me out, Tommy. No, I'm not a big commercialism sports, but I could see it happening. We know 100% it's not going to be. We know that it's not going to be RB leads. Although, Tom, you'll admit it would make a gnarly logo. I know that's not going to happen. But could the stadium? Maybe, probably not. I think they would get probably run out of town. But the money, I mean, if leagues get promoted, you're going to need the money to commit to compete in the Premier League. But I think we're close to done tonight. I thank everybody that's come by, my missus, Tom, a couple other people that are watching. I appreciate it. This has been fun. I don't want to really talk about the Broncos season as a whole until after the playoffs are done. So what we'll do to kind of preview this, next Thursday, we'll discuss the divisional round games. We'll recap those, and then we'll preview the championship, which is going to be AFC Championship, and then the NFC Championship will be down from 4 to 2. Right now we're at 8. We're down to 4, and then we'll be down to 2. And, of course, we'll try to see if we get a little bit more active during the Super Bowl week. We'll probably start talking about some stories. We did have some coaches that got fired recently, Mike McCarthy. So once everything gets figured out, we'll go from there and try to figure out where we're headed with all this stuff. But this is a Broncos channel specifically. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Take the money. I mean, for me, and I'll say this, Tom, I still call it Sports Authority at our Vesco Field. So, like, there's certain things that it's obviously in Power Field, but it used to be in Vesco Field. And then before that was Sports Authority Field. The sponsorship names have changed numerous times. I don't think from my perspective, because there's a cap, I don't think that the NFL needs naming rights on things. I don't really know, because it's not like the money can be reinvested into the team, because most of these the NFL teams make money based off of the TV deal anyway. There's an economics of this that I'm a little bit ignorant to, but I know some of it. But the reality is, like, in the European side, like, shirt sponsorship, the PSRs and all that stuff, like, all that stuff matters. It's like the salary cap is a little bit different based on NFL TV contracts and everything, but it's a little bit different. So for me, it's always going to be like Sports Authority, Mile High, whatever. But yeah, sport changes, and but anyway, it's been a long day. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I appreciate people that have come by and hung out. It's just kind of a sad time of year because things are kind of winding down for the NFL. March is the free agency period. The big news now, I want everybody, if you're looking for news this week that's not playoff related, that you want to follow, that you think is probably big news, is you're going to want to look into who the Cowboys end up hiring, who the Raiders end up hiring. I mean, I've heard some crazy things, and I don't know how true some of these things are, but there's rumors about Dion to the Cowboys. There's rumors about Belichick to the Raiders. There's rumors that Belichick may never coach the Carolina Tar Heels. But this is a silly season. And do remember that teams cannot talk to current coaches in the playoffs until they've been eliminated. So, the candidates that could come out of this, coordinator-wise, Ben Johnson of the Lions, he's probably going to be a candidate for one of these jobs. Steve Spagnuolo has been at the Chiefs forever. Does he get a coaching job again? Or is this Andy Reid's last hurrah, and Steve Spagnuolo flies up in there? So there's different things that Joe Brady at the Bills, does he get an interview? Like, there's things that are there's some things that are going on. So the NFL season is 24/7, 365. And it's why we love this game. But yeah, don't forget Chiefs-Texans 4:30. Commanders Lions at 8:00 on Saturday. Sunday, you got your Rams at your Eagles, and then Sunday night we finish it off with the Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson experience. But as far as the Broncos go, they finished the year 10-8, eliminated the wild card round. I'm beyond happy on how this year ended. But in that case, have a good night and stay relaxed, everybody. Stay warm. Take care.
3rd and 8 from the 32.